everyone, this is Mary from SVG Cuts, and I hope you're as excited as I am about these adorable little Christmas village boxes. So you can make these on any size mat, which is pretty cool, and of course with any kind of Christmas paper that you might have. And I think whether you put anything inside or not, it almost doesn't even matter because they're just so cute to have around the house as decoration or obviously to give. So if you had it underneath your tree while you wait to give it to someone, it's going to look really cute and they will definitely treasure it as a decoration at their house too. So these were inspired by some little vintage glitter house boxes that I've seen before. So hopefully maybe you remember some of those, or you have some from the past, or I've seen a lot of cute ones now in stores lately, whether it's at an antique store or like a new twist on an old thing. So super fun. And then we've also got two other boxes. This one goes together super fast because it's super simple and you can have fun embellishing it. And I topped mine with a regular old cotton ball with a hot glue gun. I think it would look even nicer if you happen to be at the craft store or in your stash maybe. If you have a nice big white pom-pom, that would look really cool on top of there too. So we also have our fun little stocking, which actually has two holes for hanging. So that will look really cute hanging just about anywhere or on your tree or whatever. So that is also going to be really fun to give. So around the bottom of our Santa box, I did another version of it where I used this really fun crazy ribbon here from American Crafts, and I just took my hot glue gun and I glued it all the way around the bottom of the white part. So that's another fun idea that looks really cute too. So this time the paper that I used is by October Afternoon and it's called Holiday Style. And like I always say, really any kind of really cool Christmas paper that you have or that you find is going to look awesome. I really love this paper and there's just so many great Christmas papers that I love. So it's really fun to work with and put your own twist on your project. So I have all my pieces cut out, so let's sit down and I'll show you how these go together. So let's go ahead and start with the most simple project, which is the Santa hat. And the top of it is made up of two main pieces here, which I will just start to glue together, one tab to the other. They're identical pieces, so it doesn't matter which one you start with. And there's also a tiny square, which I seem to have misplaced, but you get the idea, of a tiny square which will just be glued onto the top here. So just go ahead and put glue on all these, put your tiny square on, and then get a hot glue gun and a cotton ball or a pom-pom to glue onto the top. So then for the bottom, it's almost the same idea here. Two identical pieces, and instead of a tiny square at the top, there's a large square at the bottom. So I will just flip this around and glue it closed. And once it gets a little bit of a hold here, I can flip it over and just glue this square right onto the bottom. So next we have our barn, and the main part of the barn is just one piece here, and the roof is obviously pretty simple. Then I'm only going to do the lid because the bottom is the same general idea. The lid has two of these pieces. The smaller one is going to go in at the end as a liner to finish it off. And then we've got these two pieces here. So first let's start with the barn. And I'm going to close it up by putting glue on this outside tab and just forming the body here. So first you want to go ahead and put your little frames on your doors here. There's some little white pieces and a window that goes on. You could do that now or first. Then we will set this down on the table here. And I'm just going to put glue on 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the front 4 tabs. And then I will just place my roof in place and hold that while it dries. So next for our lid here, I'm going to take these two pieces and I'm going to put glue on the end tab. These two pieces that I'm gluing together are identical, so it doesn't matter which one you start with. Then I'll just go ahead and do the same thing on the other side and glue that in place. And then, as you probably can guess, I'm going to set it down on my table here, and I'm going to get it in its general shape here, and then I will carefully put a nice thin even layer of glue on all of these tabs. And once that is done, I can just place the top of the lid right on top here. You can be more careful with your glue than I am. Just want you to get the idea here. So I placed it on top and I'm just moving it around to adjust it to make sure that it lines up at each corner. So then you can just flip it around and push down on these tabs here and then glue your liner piece right into the middle there. So here's my finished lid, and as you can see, the bottom is pretty much the same concept, just a little bit taller with a flat top. So that goes together the same way. So next, let's take our house, and all we're going to do is put glue on all of these flat tabs here and just glue our barn right onto the lid. And I like to put mine flush with the back, just right in the center. So next, for this little tree here, all we're going to do, there's 4 pieces that look like this. We're just going to fold them in half and then bend this tab that way and also bend the other tab the same direction. Then all we're going to do is glue them together like this. And we'll get all 4 of them glued together. And as you can see, the bottom pieces are kind of forming a little base, which we will glue together and then glue in place. So there's our little tree, and now underneath here, I just want to put a tiny little dot of glue underneath each of these tiny little rectangles, or tiny triangles, and then put a little bit of glue all the way around. And then I can just place it right onto my lid. So next, let's take a look at our cute little house box. And the main part of the box, the main part of the house, is just all one piece here. And then the roof is made up of 3 pieces. And then we've also got this little front porch thing here, which is this little guy. And then I've also got my fence and my lid cut out to show you right now. So first, let's take the house piece here, and I'm going to put glue on this outside tab and bend this around and just hold that in place for a few seconds while it dries. Then I'm going to set this aside and take a look at the roof of our house. So like I said, the roof is 3 pieces. This piece is the back, it's the largest one, and then we've got 2 pieces like this. So they're going to go together like this. It looks a little confusing, but you can see there's only really one tab here, and that's going to go right here and get glued to this one. You can't really screw it up because it won't really fit on any other tab on the other piece. So it's kind of like a puzzle. You can tell when you have it right. So go ahead and put glue on that tab and then hold it in place for a few seconds, let it dry. And now the only other tabs on the roof are on the other piece here, this other piece. So what we're going to do is glue them like this. So we have 1, 2 tabs, and I'm going to put a line of glue and put that in place. So I've got a little too much glue, it's sticking out, but you get the general idea here. So now we can go ahead and grab our little house, and I want to make sure that these corners are bent like this, so that the front of the house is protruding from the front there. And now all we have to do is put glue on all these tabs that are going to be touching the roof, which are all around the whole entire body of the house. So I'm just kind of throwing a fat line of glue on there. You can be more careful with yours and make it a nice thin even layer of glue if you would like. So I'm going to set that down and take my roof, and I'm just going to place it on top of my house here. And I do need to move it around and make sure that things are going in the right place here. And once it starts to take shape a little bit, I'm just going to check around. Looks good. And I can use my hand on the inside to make sure those tabs are getting glued to the roof. So there we have that. Now we just need to take our little front porch and put a dot of glue on this tiny little triangle tab. Fold it around and give it a second to dry. And while it's drying, I can go ahead and put some glue on the back side of it. And just place that right smack dab in the center, right around our little cute little front door here. So now let's take a look at the lid. So now for the lid of our round box, we've got 2 circles and a long piece here. So what we're going to do first is put some glue on this outside tab on this long piece, and then just wrap it around, and I'm going to just do my best to line it up and give it a few seconds to dry. And I'm going to keep holding it while it dries, and I'm going to start bending all of these tabs over. So now all I need to do is just put a nice amount of glue on each of these. And as you can probably guess, I'm just going to place the top of the lid right on top. Now I have 2 circles here. One of them is a little bit larger. The larger one is what we want to put on the top. So it's a little bit off in places, so I'm just moving it around and adjusting it. And it's pretty much in the perfect spot, so I can flip it over, push down, and then I can glue this smaller circle right inside. So here's my finished lid, and as you can see, the bottom is essentially the same. It's just a little bit taller, so it goes together the same way. And now let's take a look at our cute little fence here. Now all we're going to do is wrap it around and pick either this one or this one and just put a nice little line of glue on it, and just place the other one right on top of it. Now the bottom of each of these little fence posts has a tiny little score line. So what we want to do is go around and fold all of those so that we can use them to glue the fence right on top of our box. And then if you're wondering how we're going to finish it off and make it look nice, there is a third circle which is going to go on the inside. So put glue on the flat parts of each of these little tabs here, place it on the top of your lid and center it as best you can, and then take your third circle, which is the smallest circle, and glue that right in the center to finish it off. Then you can go ahead and glue your cute little house down and add all kinds of fun little embellishments and strings of sparkly stuff. And I used my hot glue gun to put a little button here, as well as some pretty lace all the way around. So next, for our cute little church box here, the bottom of it is an oval, which is almost the same as the round box which I just put together. So you're just going to use the same principles for putting the lid and the bottom together for this one. So here's how the church itself goes together. We've got this one main body part and the little tower up on the top, and we've got the roof here, which I think I'll flip over to get a little crazy, and then we've got our little porch here too. So let's start with the largest piece here, which is the main part of the church, and I'm just going to put glue on that tab and hold that in place while it dries. Then I can take my glue and put it on all these tabs up here on the top, all 6 of them. And then I'm just going to place my roof on top like this. So I just want to be sure that it's centered and that there's as much of an overhang over here as there is in the front, at least close enough. And now we can do the same thing here with our little tower and just put some glue on the end tab and hold that in place for a few seconds while it dries. Then to finish off the top, we're just going to put glue on 2 of those tabs and fold that in, give it a second to dry, and then just do the same thing on the other side here. So if you need to push up from the underside to make sure that those tabs are glued, you can do that. Then all we're going to do is put some glue on these bottom tabs here and just place this right in the center of our roof. And just give it a few seconds to dry. If you need to push up from the bottom to help make contact with the glue, you can do that too. So finally, for our little porch piece here, we're just going to put a tiny little dot of glue on that tiny little triangle and hold that while it dries. And these little scallops on the front here are actually scored, so if you would like to fold them over, it looks cute. Even though they're super tiny, they do fold over. And then we'll just put some glue on the back of this all the way around and glue that right onto the front of our church. Now finally, for our cute little stocking here, we have just one long piece with some teeth in the middle of it. We've got our cuff, which has 2 holes punched for hanging it up, and then 2 stocking shaped pieces. And this one is the front. So the easiest thing to start with are these long tabs here. So first, I want to take note that there's 2 holes punched here, which means that it's this part of the stocking, which means that the front can be glued right here. So first I want to start by just gluing this piece here to the front of my stocking. And I'm going to line it up super easy because it's just a nice straight line. And then I'm going to jump to the opposite side and put some glue on this nice long straight tab here and put that in place. Now I want to hold this for a little while longer to make sure that it's definitely in place. It's not going to slide out of place while I'm trying to glue the rest of it together. So now all that we need to do is get these tabs glued to our stocking in the proper place. So all I'm going to do is start with just maybe 5 or 6 of them, and just one at a time I'm going to hold each one while it dries. And it's just a matter of having a little patience to just sit and hold each one while it dries. If they're tiny, you can kind of grab 2 at once while they dry. And we just want to work our way around the stocking. So while I hold this last one here, I'm going to hold it with my left hand while I get some glue going on the rest of these tabs. And I just want to get at least a tiny little dot on each one. They're tiny because it's a pretty sharp curve, but they definitely do the job even though they're small. So now I've got glue on all the rest of my tabs, and it's starting to look like I could even just lay it down on my table here and scooch it into place while it dries. And most of those tabs are taking hold, but I think some of them are not really touching, so I'll just go in from the underside and give them a good squeeze. And as it dries, it's drying in place, so we're good. So now all that's left to do is put glue on this whole entire back side of this piece here. And once I've got my glue applied, I want to move kind of quickly so that it doesn't dry before I get my chance to start putting my piece in place. And I just want to start with just one tab here so that it really gets a good hold in the correct place before I try to adjust it at all. Because I know that this piece needs to go here, and I also know that this piece needs to go here. So let's get those in place before we mess around with the curved part, which is always a little bit trickier. So those had a pretty good chance to dry. Now I just need to adjust these pieces and hold them while they also dry. So I've got most of my stocking together. I just need to take my little cuff part, which you can see lines up. These 2 little holes in the cuff line up with the 2 holes, and just glue that in place and tie a cute little ribbon or string. So there you go, super fun Christmas projects, and I hope you have a blast putting them together. They're so fun to embellish and add all kinds of little details to. So if you make one, we'd love to see a picture on our Facebook wall or in our forum or on your blog or wherever. So thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time, and happy crafting.
Learn more by visiting www.svgcuts.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and watch all of our crafty videos on YouTube. It's a world of crafty content with you in the middle. SVGcuts.com, inspiring you to live creatively and beautifully.